I mean, I was a police officer, and yes, I didn't go to training you did, Pat, so I'd be an embarrassment to you at the range, but
60 inches.
We learned sight picture in a
50.
classroom with, I mean, I think it might have been our guns, but obviously not loaded or blue guns. Okay, you're looking to line this up, and then we learned manipulation drills on our handguns for weeks before we even went into the range. When we went in the range, we knew how to load that thing, we know how to point it, we knew how to shoot it, and then the drills we started with were very, very slow. You were going to take it out of your holster, you were going to find your sight picture, and you were going to pull the trigger one time, and then you will put it back in your holster, and everybody will stop, and you know, it's the same approach with any skill. Just any way. Really get and the things that it's not like because I love the range and say, okay, now let's go. Now you just do it. You're always monitoring, right? Because my guys who and girls who were on these teams that got really good at these workouts, then they just did them faster, and so you still had to monitor, or they did it with heavier weight. You know, I think my first year at USD, my default weight for a clean or a hand clean was 135. By the time I left there, a few years later, I would be doing these workouts that back before 135 with 80 kilos or 175 or 185. So, I mean, just gotta pay attention to that technique. The biggest lesson I ever learned in strength and conditioning was technique is what transfers to the field. So you're training athletes here, and you want results on the field. That's the goal. And for the small portion of my career till I learned this lesson, the results I was looking for was just better improvement in the weight room. Well, your clean went from 200 to 205, so I'm doing my job, and your back squat went from, 315 to 355, so I'm being successful. Really, the metric that I want to look like, well, how is this guy playing on the field, and what's he look like when he's playing? And it took me and another strength coach having an experience when we worked with a team where the injured players who were doing good functional stuff but not getting crushed, with load, actually perform better in sports skill stuff than the people we've been training who weren't injured. And we took a step back and said, well, what's going on here? And that's where it was a light bulb moment for me, saying that a beautifully executed triple in the front squat with speed on the bar and everything you're looking for, the body positions you're looking for, the range of motion you're looking for, will transfer to the field so much better than that grinding, elbows dropping on the second rep, upper back starting to round and the knees caving in, but that's a 10 kilo PR. That one's gonna grind the athlete, and it's not going to transfer to the field the way you want. You can leave that one in the bucket. You do it sometimes by mistake, but that's not the one you want.
It doesn't become a glove that. Yeah.
It is very hard to do that, trust me, because everybody wants more.
Yeah, I was going to say, and it's easy. It's easy when you look, because I think about this just retroactively, right? Like if you look at your workout log and you see the number, you're like, oh yeah, like 6 months from now, you're not going to remember that was the grindiest, ugliest rep where, you have no business with that weight on the bar, but somehow the planets aligned and you pull it off. You're just going to see the number and you're like, yep, good job. So, it's easy.
If you as your max and you say, carry out for anything, it's going to be
it's a downward spiral.
Stefan, you've been generous with your time, and I'm going to get you moving on with the rest of your life here shortly. So I don't want to open a huge rabbit hole. So if it is, we can table it for later. But in your role as a strength and conditioning coach for these athletes, did you have any part in addressing nutrition?
Yeah, I love talking about nutrition with athletes. I really do. I don't know if I'm qualified, but let me dietitian.
I'll cue you up a little bit. I actually told this to Pat offline. I think that I have so much respect for your pragmatic approach to nutrition. I've always thought that you can break that topic down into something that is just so simple and applicable. And that is what the majority of people need. So not
this needs to be an ongoing conversation. I never had success. Well, where you have that 10% of the people where you say, just do this, and they go and they do it, and they're awesome. They don't really need me, you know. They would have found it anyways without me. But it was those people in that middle group who weren't sure what to do, were really motivated, and would do what you told them, but just needed guidance. Or if you just that little check-in when the team comes in. So you see that team 3 or 4 days a week, and every time you see that athlete, you're like, hey, what's going on? What was breakfast this morning? Good. How do you feel? What's going on? Well, I feel, I'm doing less of the sugars and things. I feel kind of flat. I'm like, yeah, I understand that. Let's see how we can manage this because you're in season. Let's maybe not make a big change in season. Let's reintroduce some of that stuff. You can have better choice or whatever it was. It was just having that conversation every time they came in made a huge, huge difference. And so I kept it simple. We papered our wall with tips and thoughts on nutrition. We were always available. We told them, hey, if you need any help, come talk to us. And we had good role models as strength coaches. I gotta give a shout out to someone here. So the reason I'm bringing this up is, to my knowledge, maybe Josh had one, but the only strength coach I know who was hired because of the credential being his CrossFit level 1 versus CSCS was a guy I hired. He played baseball at the University of San Diego, great pitcher, and then started getting into CrossFit and compete at regionals, I believe, out in California. Just he volunteered for me, and then I hired him because he was so awesome. I hired him. I had HR put, required certificates or whatever. They had CSCS or CrossFit level 1. Yes. So, because he didn't have a CSCS yet, he got it obviously since because you need it in this industry. Well, he has gone on now, and he's the head strength coach for baseball at the University of Texas, and they're going to the College World Series right now.
Awesome.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's a guy whose brain I want to pick because I saw his team on TV, and they're big, strong, and athletic at the end of the season. Now, that guy, as soon as we hired that guy, to go back to what we were talking about, I wasn't getting much nutrition questions anymore. They were asking him. It opened so many doors to be a good role model, to be a good role model. And more so, they weren't asking him because he was jacked. I mean, the baseball guys were like, we want to be like him, but they see him eating his lunch. He had Tupperware, and he had stuff around, and he had a lunch prepared, and someone would come into the office to talk to me about, hey, they had to change their schedule, and they'd look over, and they'd be like, hey, and that conversation would start about nutrition. And those are the things that don't happen if you're sitting there with, fast food, gotten out of shape, and not a great role model. Those are just opportunities you make for yourself. And I just remember sitting at my desk going, yeah, we got a good thing going here when that happened.
Oh man, Stefan, I'm so glad we made this happen, man. And genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
No, thank you guys. This was fun. It was a blast. I appreciate the time for sure.
Well, and I will say, as we always do, if you're listening to this podcast style, fantastic. But if you're on the BTWB YouTube channel, please dive into the comments. Let us know what you thought. You've got some experiences one way or the other in the strength and conditioning world of college athletics, ideas for your future guest, all that good stuff. So, Stefan, any ways people can reach out with questions for you, or maybe there are some strength and conditioning coaches who are on the fence, heard this and was like, maybe I should learn a bit more about CrossFit. Where can they find you, and where would you point coaches looking to learn more about CrossFit?
So all the strength coaches want to send hate mail, just send that to Bob. I'm happy to give you guys some show notes. I can give you my email for show notes.
Yep, easy.
Happy to do that. And I mentioned to you one thing that is funny, because I remember watching CrossFit Olympic lifting when it was that little video. Remember the workout? They finally had a video. It's like a video. Oh my God! It was about this big. You can tell what's going on. And it was Olympic lifting. It wasn't great Olympic lifting because I hadn't met with Bergner yet. Over my career, what notice is if I need a resource, if I need to find something out, the first place I look is within the CrossFit community. It's amazing how when there's a need in the CrossFit community, whether it's we need to get better at the Olympic lifts or we need to get better at mobility or whatever it is, they grab onto that and then they become the experts in the field. And I will say over the years that I've used CrossFit as a resource for almost anything that's come up, whether it be nutrition or programming, things like that. So I would say to coaches out there, if you're a young coach starting out, especially if you're coming out of one of these colleges where it's a kinesiology program or whatever, do your schooling, do all that stuff, but then dig into some of the CrossFit stuff. Whether you agree with CrossFit, whether you are going to run any type of CrossFit programming in the traditional sense, dig into that main site, dig into all the articles and things that you can find out there. You will learn a lot of things that will complement whatever you're doing out there. Just good basic principles of physical training. And it's a wealth of knowledge out there, and they give so much out there. That's the advice I'd have for someone who's starting out.
Can't think of a perfect way to wrap it up. So once again, awesome, Stefan. Many thanks, man. I'll hit you up and maybe drag you into a future episode.
Awesome. Always great to chat with you. Great seeing you guys. This was fun. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Later.
Bye.
Stefan, what's up, my good man?
Not much. How you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for making time for Boz and I.
Great to see you guys.
Likewise. I'm going to read off your credentials and embarrass you, just in case everyone's watching. If they're on YouTube, hopefully they can see it there. But if they're listening to this in an audio format, they'll have no idea. Why should I listen to this joke? So,
hold on. Before you do that, Pat, I just want to say that, in my opinion, I think that Stefan Roche is one of the ultimate gray men. In the sense that I think you fly so far under the radar, but you have such an amazing list of things that you've been a part of and accolades and all that kind of stuff. And you're probably not going to self-promote at all. So this is important to actually listen to Pat about what this man has done with his life. So, yeah.
I would agree. What an intro. Here we go. So, you started your career as a strength and conditioning coach at UCLA way back in 1999, pre-2000s. Followed by stints at Indiana University, University of San Diego, then back to UCLA, and some time also with the U.S. Navy, finest Navy in the world, by the way. Introduced to CrossFit in 2003 by Mr. Mike Bergner. Got your
no big deal.
Right, no big deal, name drop. Got your L1 in 2004, and then from 2007 to 2014. You were part of a seminar staff, L1 instructor for CrossFit, and then eventually joined the games team for several years. And so, yes, why we have you here today is specifically for your collegiate strength and conditioning background, because it's a constant question of, do universities do it? Do they not do it? Does it have a stigma? Is it actually effective? What happens in the on-season versus the off-season? How much is too much? And that's more your world than mine, so maybe...
Well, and Pat, can I add something to that too? I think broadly, and this is what I'm really interested in, there's kind of this weird thing that happens, in my opinion, when you have like an athlete, quote unquote, and then normal people. And like for some reason, the training that one of those parties engages in is supposed to be radically different than the other in the public perception. And so I'm really curious, Stefan, as to whether or not you think that is actually the case or not. But we can get into that as we go on.
Let's make sure we circle back to that. So maybe Stefan, we can just start with, unless you want to take it in a different direction, I'm going to let you largely guide this one, but what would you say is like the current landscape? What does the current landscape look like regarding strength and conditioning at the collegiate level for their big sports?
Good question. It varies greatly. There's a broad spectrum. There's guys out there like a Josh Everett, and Ethan Reeve, who I learned from, and Josh learned from he was at Ohio University, he's at Wake Forest, who you would walk into the weight room and you'd say, this is strength and conditioning. There's cleans and snatches and all that stuff going on. A lot of calisthenics. calisthenics, pull-ups, push-ups, air squats, pistols, all that stuff's going on. You walk into another weight room, and it could be the same conference. It could be a high-level school, Division I, one of the power conferences, and you think you're in a PT clinic. There's, there's Swiss balls and Bosu balls and isolation and machines, and you're not sure a whole lot of work gets done in here more than rehab gets done in there. And one of the funny things is, the schools that can recruit the best athletes oftentimes don't train them the way we think. Look, this is a great athlete. He's going to be awesome at this stuff. I mean, this guy's going to squat the house. He's going to pick up cleans real fast and move a ton of weight. A lot of I shouldn't say a lot of the schools, but some of those schools have gravitated towards, where they're doing like an assessment to start, and then they get a little program that fixes these little inflexibilities or these little mobility patterns that they didn't find were perfect. And it really looks like, you look at the full program, and here's your sheet of what you're going to be doing today in the weight room. You're like, is this anything but a warm up and a cool down? Like, where's the actual work?
Do you think that some of that has to do, and I've thought about this a lot over the years, there are some athletes that the caliber of what they can do is so good and so advanced when they come in that it's not that it's irrelevant what they do in the weight room, but it's like the school and the program that they affix to that person really doesn't